happens, you've been warned and forewarned is forearmed.
This is what it's like to see yourself on TV. Let's tune in.
The energy price cap will rise in January, resulting in households paying on average 5% more for their energy bills, amounting to a total of £1,928 a year on average. Ofgem has said that the price increase is due to higher wholesale costs for electricity and gas faced by suppliers. The international wholesale energy market has been erratic recently because of the Israel-Hamas war, as well as the industrial action of gas production plants in Australia. This news puts the spotlight back on our need to reconsider our own energy production in this country. The Chancellor promised yesterday to build domestic sustainable energy and shared his long-term plans for billions of pounds of spending over the next decade. He also went on to say that it's taking too long for clean energy businesses to access the electricity grid. But renewable energy is remarkably expensive, and it will take a long time to get.
Well, it's not remarkably expensive. It's actually relatively cheap.
Even fracking. In terms of renewable energy, the government has just increased the price it's offering for offshore wind projects to £176 per megawatt hour, nearly double the price that you get for Hinkley Point, which is quite expensive, nuclear power at £92.50, which compares to the spot gas price, which is inflated because of the recent turmoil and because we're not fracking anyway, of £82.44. So the gas spot price is much cheaper than nuclear or indeed offshore wind. So it seems to me that the roads do leave us back to fracking and using the energy beneath our feet. But joining me now,
fracking ridiculous.
Managing Director of Green Oil UK, as well
That's
as
me.
Panel, who you know well. Well, thank you for coming in. These strike prices for offshore wind are extremely high, aren't they?
Well, they are, but I do think climate change is important. If we're going to make young people do maths until 18, the least we can do is look after the planet for them. And it is a bit higher, but actually with the volatility of gas prices due to Putin's wars and, well, it all comes from dubious countries, most of the oil and gas, I think the time is to go towards renewable energy. And I would say that I'm in favour of nuclear energy as well, and most environmentalists are. And renewables form over 40% of our power, from 2% under Tony Blair.
I mean, I'm certainly in favour of nuclear power, but with renewables, you're still going to need some gas supply on standby for when the wind isn't blowing and when the sun isn't shining. If we're going to be using gas anyway, isn't it sensible to use our own gas? And when we're sitting on trillions of cubic feet of it, extracting that, the shale gas, which America has done so successfully.
Yeah, well, I'd argue in America it wasn't successful. It caused a lot of pollution, people having their tap water with gas in it.
Well, that's not true. You know that those stories have all been debunked. There's never been gas coming out of taps. It's just not accurate.
Okay, well, I didn't know that.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, aquifers have been polluted, and I do think the aquifers, the water stored underground in the UK is a priority to preserve. And secondly, I think having gas on standby is not the long-term solution with renewables. You can store renewable energy by turning electricity into hydrogen, by having giant flywheels, for example.
I'm very excited by hydrogen as a long-term possibility, but we're still quite a long time away from that.
We're not a long way away from that at all.
Effectively as a transition fuel at low cost, because American electricity prices are about half those in the UK, and the American economy has been growing, as you will know, much more strongly than our economy has.
I don't think the two are related. Around 40% of UK energy comes from renewables and about 25% from nuclear. And again, it was about 2% a decade or two ago under the previous administration. Therefore, I don't think the relationship between cheap energy and economic growth is a firm one. And actually, growth of renewable energy has been a good thing. Energy prices have always been cheaper in America, largely because they tax them less, and arguably it results in inefficiency. And again, in the UK, we have shops leaving their doors open with the heating on, people at home not wearing jumpers and just having the heating on. Actually, maybe we need more efficiency, and we have an inefficient housing stock. People should be using secondary glazing and making these fixes to reduce energy consumption. That's the way forward.
Nigel, you're very sympathetic to this view, aren't you?
I am.
But £176 per megawatt hour, more than double the gas price, but nearly double the nuclear price. And nuclear is not cheap.
Yeah, and the more renewables we have, the price will go down.
But unfortunately, that's not true. With offshore wind, the price has just gone up. The government just put the strike price up by 66%.
But if we actually, I mean, for instance, we take Labour's plan that Jeremy Hunt rubbished yesterday, the 28 billion that they want to actually spend on green energy, that will bring prices down. The other thing that would bring prices down, which I'm sorry that Keir Starmer has now shied away from, is nationalising the power industry, which I'm sure you don't agree with.
No, I don't, because how would that possibly bring prices down?
It just simply takes the profit margin out of supplying public services. It seems to me that anything that is actually for the public good, a public utility, a public service, should be in public hands.
But the profit margin and competition drives prices.
Well,
where does the state?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, even though we have high prices under the system that isn't nationalised, but interesting.
Suppliers are just bill takers. You get the Ecotricity, the ones producing renewable energy. A lot of these so-called, free market energy suppliers, they're just issuing energy bills. I mean, it's ridiculous. They don't even issue paper bills and take checks anymore. They're just glorified order takers, and maybe the government could cut us out.
But actually, it's innovation in the supply and in billing that has reduced prices for consumers. That's been very important. Suzanne, these prices are very high.
Have they gone down or up? I'm confused.
As you know, Jake, the last auction round for offshore wind failed completely because nobody could afford to actually put the infrastructure in for the price the government was offering. So obviously the price had to go up. But I think for me, what really annoys me about this is this push towards net zero that nobody's costed, nobody how much knows it's going to cost. It really...
Actually, the Stern Review said that reducing our carbon footprint now is cheaper than not doing so.
And yet millions of us are living in fuel poverty. And yet
Millions in fuel poverty, or is it just the poorest 5% who we should be subsidising anyway?
failure. It was originally, I think, brought in 2018 to try and get prices down because everyone felt they were being ripped off by energy companies. But it's now 70% higher, very nearly, than what we were paying back in 2018.
Is that because of renewable energy stuff or because of general gas prices and Putin's invasion of Ukraine?
You know, we should be keeping with oil and gas and arguably coal as well until we actually have the ability to use these new technologies, which everyone has to support, but to use them in a way that's...
And keeping prices down also.
We do have a way of storing renewable energy. All these things are happening, again, between 2% back in the day, 10, 12 years ago, to 40% renewables. It's happening.
Coming up, what lessons can we learn in the Dutch election?
Anyway, that's kind of what it's like to see yourself on TV. It's, quite interesting. Thanks for watching.